Sanbanani, and welcome to Africa Tonight, the show that takes you across the continent, covering significant developments as they unfold. We bring you conversations about the stories affecting the people of Africa. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lesego Mokwanane. Let's take a look at news-making headlines across the continent. Zimbabwe's presidential candidates sign a peace agreement following a blast over the weekend. The anti-IS coalition holds a meeting on terrorist threat to Africa. Libya's unity government calls on the UN Security Council to block any illegal oil exports from the chaos-hit country after a rival administration won control of key ports. In your top story at this hour, Africa is home to more than 10,000 jihadists from the Islamic State group and Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb. Morocco's Foreign Minister Nasser Bourritam revealed this at a meeting of the US-led coalition. Political representatives met in Shrikarat near the Moroccan capital Rabat. Africa is among the most targeted zones as terrorists exploit its vulnerabilities. The Moroccan Foreign Minister called for cooperation between African countries and the global coalition to defeat ISIS.
En termes d'attentats perpétrés, si on exclut l'Irak, la Syrie et l'Afghanistan, le nombre le plus élevé d'attentats terroristes sont commis sur le continent africain. En termes de victimes également, le nombre de victimes des attentats terroristes en Afrique, comme je l'ai dit ce matin, est 22 fois plus grand que le nombre de victimes terroristes dans le continent européen, par exemple. La réunion a également été très utile par rapport à la dimension africaine. Dans le cadre de l'évolution de la stratégie de Daesh, l'Afrique est parmi les zones les plus ciblées. L'Afrique présente des points de vulnérabilité qui sont exploités par la nébuleuse terroriste.
For a focus not only on ensuring that we finish the job in Iraq and Syria in what ISIS used to call its caliphate, but also that we focus on ensuring they cannot regenerate, including here in Africa.
Congolese gynecologist Denis Mukwege pays homage to a spiritual leader who has decreed women raped by Islamic State group should not be stigmatized. The renowned doctor shook hands with white-bearded Kurto Haji Ismail, the Yazidist Baba Sheikh or spiritual leader. The meeting took place at the Yazidi minority's holiest site in Iraq, at the Lalish Temple. Yazidis are followers of an ancient religion with more than 500,000 believers in northern Iraq. In 2014, ISIS kidnapped thousands of these sect's women and girls as sex slaves.
We already treat more than 50,000 women in my clinic. And I think that there is a way to share this experience. There is also a way to make more awareness on this situation of women, Yazidi women. And this is a way maybe to unite our forces, to join our forces to fight against rape as a weapon of war. When rape happens, don't say that it's Iraq, is Congo, Colombia, or Korea. We have just to say our humanity was abused and just join our forces and fight against. The international community have really to take responsibility, because what happened, if you can, what I heard here, is a genocide. And we have to fight to get justice. And justice is the way to avoid repetition.
What we get from this, that we can get the same that they did to their community and practice it in our community through medical support, psychosocial support, legal support, and also livelihood support. I wanted to see how they experience it, how they get over it, how they really build women with strong abilities and power. They could face the world now. They're asking for their rights. I wanted to see this so I can bring it to my community, so I can bring it and help the women in my community who have been under ISIS, who have been survivors, to really rebuild and change this pain to power.
South Sudan President Salva Kiir and Arch chauffeur Riek Machar agreed to a permanent ceasefire. The agreement raises hopes of a lasting peace to end their country's devastating war. Sudan's Foreign Minister Al-Diardiri Ahmed made the welcome announcement. All parties have agreed on a permanent ceasefire to take effect within 72 hours of signing the Khartoum document. Kiir and Machar signed the document in the presence of Sudanese President Omar al-Bashir. Libya's unity government has called on the UN Security Council to block any illegal oil exports. These exports followed the chaos that the country after rival administration won control of key ports. The appeal by the UN-backed government of national accord follows the seizure of 2 eastern oil ports by military strongman Khalifa Haftar. He stated that all future revenues from terminals under his control would be handed over to the unrecognized administration in the east.
نحن أكدنا لكل الأطراف الدولية أن القناة الوحيدة والشرعية هي المؤسسة الوطنية للنفط طرابلس، وكذلك هناك قرارات من مجلس الأمن تحظر التعامل مع أي جهة أخرى غير هذه المؤسسة. أما فيما يخص من يسيطر عسكريا على موقع عسكري ما، فحكومة الوفاق من اليوم الأول ومن بدأها في العمل لم تكن طرفا عسكريا ضد أي طرف ليبي. نحن نبحث على وفاق وتوافق يخرج الليبيين من حالة عدم الاستقرار. بالنسبة إلى ما حصل في الهلال النفطي، نحن أدنا من اليوم الأول الهجوم اللي قامت به مجموعة خارجة عن القانون، وكان واضحا المجلس الرئاسي في إدانته لهذا الهجوم. هذه أموال الليبيين، وهذه المنطقة هي منطقة ذات خصوصية خاصة، ويجب المحافظة على أموال الليبيين.
And our news in our neighboring Zimbabwe, presidential candidates and political parties sign a pledge to have a peaceful campaign ahead of elections. Now, this comes after violence at several of Zimbabwe's election campaigns. There are 23 candidates vying for the position of president in the July 30 elections. Emmerson Mnangagwa has been serving as president of Zimbabwe since November last year. Mnangagwa narrowly survived a bomb blast at a ZANU-PF rally he was addressing in Bulawayo on Saturday. These will be the first presidential polls without former President Robert Mugabe since independence in 1980. And now joining me in studio is Tinashe Jonas from Ideal Zimbabwe Party. We also have Jealousy Mawarire, PF spokesperson, and Chadia Tapiwa Diamond, an Afro expert. Joining us over the phone line is Kennedy Mandaza, ZANU-PF spokesperson. A very warm welcome to you, gentlemen, and thank you so much for your time. I'm going to start with Kennedy. Kennedy, I hope you can hear me at this point. We know that a blast took place on Saturday, and we know that it claimed 2 victims' lives. At this point, any word of how far the investigation of that blast is at this point?
Good evening to your viewers. So far, there is no word from the police with regards to the progress of the investigation. But what we are aware of is from the communication that they have given is that they are busy with the investigations. They have brought in all the security apparatus that is responsible in assessing the type of bomb or which detonated on that particular day. And they've also brought in the security people that are responsible to investigate who could be the perpetrator who intended to assassinate our president. So at the moment, the whole country, including the international community, should be patient enough to give room to the security service to do its work so that they can determine and come up with the correct position with regards to what happened on Saturday.
Now, we know that at the moment 2 victims have passed on. Any word on who they are?
The 2 people that passed on are the security aides that were responsible for providing security to the officials that were on the high table. And among them, the security aide for the president, who also got injured and passed on later.
And will there be a special funeral planned for the 2 victims?
As you are aware, the ZANU-PF is providing assistance to all the people that got injured, and they have offered to assist the families of the bereaved to ensure that the 2 comrades who passed on can get a decent burial. So as of now, what we know is that the party is funding the funeral to make sure that our comrades do get a decent burial, and those that are still in hospital, the party will continue to provide them support and funds to make sure that they get the best medical aid that they are supposed to get in order to recuperate.
All right. Kennedy, I'm going to keep you on the line and come back into studio. I'm going to start with my Afro expert, Diamond. What was your initial reaction on what took place at the White City Stadium in Bulawayo?
Well, it is a sad incident. You know, we had very instances of that happening in Zimbabwe. As we all know, Zimbabwe is a very peaceful country, and seeing a bomb at such an event where the president and the leader of ZANU-PF was addressing people, and we just see a bomb exploding at that incident, it brings a security risk, a security issue in Zimbabwe. But generally, Zimbabwe is a very peaceful country, and it has, of course, shocked the people of Zimbabwe. But generally, as we speak, things are a little bit tense, but not that much, because the word, even from ZANU-PF, is that this could be people from within ZANU-PF, probably just quoting from what the president has hinted to, you know. So it has got nothing to do with whoever is outside of ZANU-PF, like the opposition party and so forth. So we believe, or the people of Zimbabwe believe, that it's a continuation of what happened when Emmerson Mnangagwa came into power in November.
And we know that several of Zimbabwe's previous election campaigns have been marked by violence, particularly against the opposition party, the MDC. It is also said that this could have been aimed at the MDC leader and not Mnangagwa. Was this appropriately dressed by the ZANU-PF? That such violence will not take place again, as we know that most of the time, as you had said, that it could come from ZANU-PF.
Such acts of terror have been very common within the ZANU-PF precincts. If we go back into around about the year 2000, when with the formulation of the Movement for Democratic Change, the opposition party in Zimbabwe, the Daily News, which was objective in terms of reporting because all other media houses were controlled by ZANU-PF, it was bombed and nothing happened to that. There was no investigation whatsoever, which was attended to by ZANU-PF. So with this issue coming in now, we call it an act of terror because we've got laws in place. It appears as if it is a continuation of fights within ZANU-PF. That is why it has not been addressed the way it should have been addressed, because they know it's not anyone else coming outside, and also it's not going to be addressed to the opposition party members. But this is the evils within ZANU-PF. This is what ZANU-PF has always been. We have people like Tendai Chiminya, who were bombed, who got killed, and nothing was done to address those. So the reaction from ZANU-PF is quite normal, even though the circumstances are abnormal because of the history, because of the past, which has happened in Zimbabwe.
I'm going to invite Jealousy into this conversation. You are the NPF spokesperson. Now, I just want to get your reaction, as we know that this is the first serious violence in the current election campaign. Have you had other similar incidents during election campaigning on your side?
I think the best thing is to put the attack in perspective. And I think there is no better way than to link what happened in Bulawayo to the coup that happened on the 15th of November. Because what we have in Zimbabwe, I've heard this guy saying that Zimbabwe is generally peaceful. It was before the 15th of November. You can't expect a country where there was a coup, where soldiers are in control, where soldiers have taken over, violently taken over power, to be peaceful. And you can't expect those soldiers to run a peaceful campaign. You can't expect those soldiers to provide security to political opponents. It's unheard of. So what happened in Bulawayo is an extension of what happened on the 15th of November, when tanks were ordered onto the streets to violently take over power from a democratically elected president. So, you know, we have seen Mnangagwa quickly trying to blame people that he says belong to a faction within ZANU-PF that is sympathetic to the former First Lady, Dr. Grace Mugabe. And he says he's using his hunch. And some of us who have known Mnangagwa for a very long time, who have studied the history of Zimbabwe, we know that he's capable of what is called false flagging. This is likely, the explosion in Bulawayo is likely a false flag operation perpetrated by Mnangagwa himself in order to elicit support and sympathy from within Zimbabwe and from the international community. It doesn't surprise us that the first thing that he did after the explosion was to go on television and give an interview, trying to control the narrative. He has also even given an interview to the BBC that we know has been fronting and has been babysitting the coup government in Harare. So the actions, the body language, the actions of Mnangagwa, his body language, is not of a president that has just escaped an attempt on his life. It's body language of someone who really is in control of events and wants to control the narrative. So this is likely a red flag operation by Mnangagwa himself. And you know, if you look at the visuals, you would think that the attack was more aimed at General Chiwenga than Mnangagwa himself. But Mnangagwa has gone out to claim that there was an assassination attempt on him. He has put a narrative out there that someone was after him. But the visuals that we saw, the object that was thrown was likely aimed at the former general. So it's Mnangagwa has been doing quite a lot of things in Zimbabwe. We have heard of break-ins, so-called break-ins at his offices. No one has been arrested. And he claims at one point in time to have been poisoned. He later on wrote a statement denying that he wasn't poisoned, he didn't eat any ice cream. But when it is convenient now, he says he ate ice cream and he was poisoned by the former First Lady. So this is someone who is highly, highly unreliable, someone who has learned the art of red flagging from the former Selous Scouts. And he has been using that. And there's no better person to know of this red flagging than Dr. Dumiso Darengwa. And he recently said that Mnangagwa created dissidents. He created dissidents in Matabeleland in order to justify the onslaught that, the government between 1983 and 1987 did on the people of Matabeleland. So this is someone who has been in the security sector, who has been schooled in the art of false flagging and creating situations in order to blame victims. So I'm not convinced that this was an attack by anyone outside, not even ZANU-PF, but outside the circles, Mnangagwa's circles. Primarily to enlist sympathy from voters and from the international
community. Let me bring in Tinashe into this conversation. Tinashe, we're hearing a jealousy saying that usually Mnangagwa does this whole red flagging thing, and this attack was basically aimed at the MDC leader, not Mnangagwa. What are your comments?
All right. I want to concur with what Brother Jealous is saying. It's true. Emerson Mnangagwa plays a victim when he's a dangerous killer. Soon after independence in 1980, around 1983, he kidnapped some tourists around the Victoria Falls, him with the General Chiwenga, and he killed them. And the issue of dissidents again, he created the Guasela, whatever, some dissidents who were like killing people. Those two instances were then linked to the Ndebele people. And Mnangagwa is a Minister of State Security. They killed more than 30,000 Zimbabweans as a way to create a one-party state. Because at that time, the strongest opposition was called, the man was called Joshua Ngomo. So they wanted to make a one-party state country. That was Mnangagwa. And then we moved, earlier a year before independence, Mnangagwa was involved in the killing of our commander for the war, Josiah Tungogara. When the war was over, he was driving back home to celebrate. Mnangagwa is involved there. We move on from there, and then we go on to 2008 elections. When Mugabe was beaten by Morgan Tsvangirai, all ministers, even the Minister of State Security by then called Didymus Mtasa, ran away to his rural home because they knew the results Mugabe had lost. Mugabe at that time, we are told, he had also accepted defeat. Mnangagwa is the person who said, President, be assured, we would turn the result of the election. Him and General Chiwenga. By the way, Mnangagwa is born and bred in Zambia. He's not a Zimbabwean. By the way, General Chiwenga is born and bred in Mozambique. He's a Mozambican, bleaching addict. Then from there, we go to Perenzi Shiri, who is the Minister of Agriculture right now. He's a blood cousin of Robert Mugabe. Just to show people that there was no coup. Perenzi Shiri can't be involved in a coup involving his brother. Perenzi Shiri was the commander of the 5th Brigade, the North Korean trained army, which killed more than 30,000 people. So when Morgan Tsvangirai lost the election, we won the election, Mnangagwa is the person who reversed through the military, they call it joint security, whatever, joke, to say the election, Tsvangirai didn't win enough. And then they reversed the results. And then they unleashed, they killed so many Zimbabweans and tortured. From there again, the death of General Mjuru, the husband of this Mai Mjuru, our sex veteran, was involved again by Mnangagwa because Mnangagwa, this Mjuru was a threat. He was the most powerful person in Zimbabwe. So Mnangagwa and Chiwenga had their plan for power. And then Mnangagwa was again involved in the manufacture of intelligence, whatever, for the firing of Joyce Mujuru and the disappearance of Itai Zamara. We've got an activist, I think 2 years ago, who disappeared. Mnangagwa is involved in the assassination and disappearance of Zimbabweans. He's the most dangerous criminal in our country. And then we come to the coup. It's again centered around Mnangagwa. There was never a coup in Zimbabwe. There's no coup in our country. Robert Mugabe simply resigned and appointed his right-hand man. Because remember, Mnangagwa was the bodyguard of Robert Mugabe. So Mnangagwa has got the secret of Robert Mugabe. He's the closest man to Robert Mugabe. So there was never a coup. This coup was stage managed so that the world would believe in Zimbabwe again and invest and say there's a better person now. In hell, there's no better devil.
Tinashe, I'm going to have to hold you there because we do have viewers who are calling in who want to join in the conversation. Joe, calling from Durban, thank you so much for staying on the line. What is your comment or question this evening?
Good evening. Firstly, I would like to send my condolences to innocent Zimbabweans who died in that drama that was created by Mnangagwa and Chiwenga and his cohorts. You know, we know their game. They've been playing this game forever. And what I concur with what Tinashe Jonas is saying, these people have been staging drama in front of the whole world to see. And the Zimbabweans, when they cry foul, they become victimized because they can see the truth. So what I'm saying, I send my condolences to the families of those who are dead, because they are victims to this cruel regime. These people have been acting this kind of drama. They don't care who loses life. They don't care who loses limbs. Because in 2008, that the national journalist is talking about, they were cutting people's limbs to say, do you want a short sleeve or a long sleeve? If you say a short sleeve, they cut just above your shoulder. If you say you want a long sleeve, they cut just on your wrist. And that's exactly what they were doing. And all this was the creation of the same person that is tasked now of being the steward of Zimbabwe. And he imposed death for us as Zimbabwe's leader. You know, it so sad a story to tell about an African country called Zimbabwe, where we had the hyena pretending to be a sheep or a lamb, you know. This person is a devourer, is blood hungry, and is the person that is killing fellow Zimbabweans. You know, it is not a secret. People know. You can deal with me, because already we have 2 panelists there out of 3 who are saying exactly what the population of Zimbabwe is believing. And this guy is very good at acting victim. So they're plotting this drama. They're killing people like how they did even in Matabeleland, so that they could murder 20,000 Ndebele people, you know. And they have been doing these things, dramatizing and doing this. How can a person from a meter away from where the bomb explodes survive without even a stretch, and everyone else is dying? You can see it was stage managed, it was very well coordinated, and they knew exactly the events which were going to unfold, you know, except the innocent people who came there solely to be patriots for their country, to participate in the rallies. But, you know, this is what we are faced with.
Thank you very much, Joe, for calling in, calling from Durban. Thank you very much for your comments over there. I'm going to come to Diamond quickly. I'm going to come back to you. I just want to get Diamond into this conversation quickly. Now, we're hearing that this attack was created by Mnangagwa. We heard this from Tinashe as well. We heard it from the caller. What do you make of this?
Speculation. I would think probably there's a lot of speculation, and people have been throwing a lot of speculation to say it could be stage managed. In terms of saying that this was stage managed, it was from Mnangagwa, I've got no facts to say that. But I believe, as far as I'm concerned, my brother Jihadist Mawarire has got roots with ZANU-PF. He knows the ZANU-PF better than all of us. But judging from what the comments that he's been saying about ZANU-PF, he was talking about the coup. When things were good, everyone, they were all supporting Robert Mugabe. The opposition supporters, they were the victims of ZANU-PF. Things were good. It was good for them. They had Emerson Mnangagwa right from the beginning up until now. So for him now to come back and turn around and say Mnangagwa is not a good man, it's a travesty of justice. Understand? It would sound as if probably it's coming or emanating from bitterness to say he's no longer within the circles of ZANU-PF where they were looting and enjoying the good things of Zimbabwe. Now, as he's outside of the circles of ZANU-PF, he can speak ill of Mnangagwa, because from 1999 up until now, they were in ZANU-PF. They looted, they butchered people. The opposition party and the civil society, they tried to do campaigns for democracy, governance, and human rights, and those issues were not addressed. He was there in ZANU-PF. For him to come now and say that Emerson Mnangagwa is a violent person, I think it's an insult to the people of Zimbabwe, because he was there in ZANU-PF. He watched people getting killed, but they were kicked out of ZANU-PF because of the political factions within ZANU-PF. So those issues now to say that this was stage managed, he knows better. Probably it's sour grapes coming out of that. You understand?
I think I have to respond to
okay,
this.
When
you invite guests, we expect that your guests are knowledgeable on things that they're talking about. They are knowledgeable on comments that they're making on people that they are sharing the same podium with. I've never been in ZANU-PF, for your own information. Unless otherwise you know of a different Jihadist Mawarire. I've never been in ZANU-PF. I have worked in the area of elections. I was a research officer at the Zimbabwe Election Support Network. I am a journalist, a very qualified one for that matter. I have not been a member of ZANU-PF, not even a single day. And I have loads and loads of things that I've written on Mnangagwa. I've written about Mnangagwa lying that he was a member of the Crocodile Gang, when he was not. Every time that Mnangagwa gives an interview, be it to the international media, especially to the international media, especially to journalists that are not well versed with the history of Zimbabwe, he tends to lie and over-dramatize quite a lot of things. And he has takers and very uninformed people like this gentleman seated at my right, that who confuses things. I've never been a member of ZANU-PF, and everything that you are saying about me is a lie. You know, you don't have to come here and lie. You have to come here and analyze. The reason why I'm saying that Mnangagwa should be the one who is responsible. One, he is the president of the country. He should be telling us what really happened. Not to tell us about his hunch. If he doesn't have any facts, he should keep quiet. He is the one who is in control of the investigative state apparatus. And up until he gets empirical evidence on what happened in Bulawayo, he should keep quiet. But the moment he starts pointing fingers to people and start name dropping and accuse people that are even outside the country, we also go into overdrive and begin to speculate based on the history of the man that we're talking about. This is a man who lies about everything from the role that he played during the liberation struggle, his age, his origins. He lies about everything. So we make those speculations based on what we know as Zimbabweans.
So at this point, would you say that... You don't have to be ZANU-PF.
You don't have to be ZANU-PF to know Emmerson Mnangagwa.
Okay, Jealousy, listen. Would you say that the reason why he's not able to tell the country what really happened on that day is because he wants to drag the investigation?
No. There's no investigation going forward.
And how would you
actually
know?
Because if there was any investigation, you expect an informed president to come out and give you exactly what is coming out from those investigations, not his hunch, not his gut feelings. A whole president speculates on an attempt on his life, a purported attempt on his life. That's sheer madness. That's rank idiocy for me. You don't go on television as a president, as the first citizen of a country, a person who is supposed to be more informed than everyone in the country, and begin to speculate. That's sheer madness for me. So there should be a reason why he's speculating. And we have seen acres and acres of propaganda that has been done around this incident to give a narrative that the attacks were coming from G40, the attacks were coming from former First Lady Grace Mugabe. But in as much as he's doing that, he's actually selling himself. He's actually exposing himself. He has a hand in what happened. That's why the first thing that he did was to give an interview. Someone who is a president who has escaped an attempt on his life does not go out in a garden and begin to give an interview to a state journalist. You don't do that.
What's your point?
Okay, the first thing is that Mnangagwa lies that he's got a degree in law. Mnangagwa is so dumb that lawyers are good to talkers and debaters. But Mnangagwa's IQ is less than 60. He's dumb and ignorant. Then from there, Mnangagwa has created Tajamuka. If you know the activist called Tajamuka, Zorwadza, Advocate Mahere, Mnangagwa has created Ivan Mawarire. This flag is just a stupid intelligence CIO. Then from there, we go to Chamisa, Nelson Chamisa. Chamisa is a project of Mnangagwa. Chamisa is created to give Zimbabweans the same hope that Zimbabweans were having on Morgan Tsvangirai. Morgan Tsvangirai was, campaigning, contesting. Elections that he knew are run by the army. Was Zeki is ZANU-PF. Morgan Tsvangirai was carrying the hope of the nation, a false hope, Because you can't say to this election, we want reforms. Without reforms, you go to elections. You cry, I was rigged. Nelson Chamisa now is giving Zimbabweans that hope that he's going to win. Having crowd which are sponsored by Mnangagwa. Chamisa is a project of Mnangagwa. So, because the election in Zimbabwe is run by the army, you can't contest in an election, you know that the army is running. As we speak, Emerson Mnangagwa is the winner of the election. Mnangagwa was contesting in a district election twice and he lost. You can't lose a district election twice and go to a national election. So, if Mnangagwa can create Chamisa and makes the whole country is hopeful now. The whole world, there's election, Mnangagwa versus Chamisa. It's actually Mnangagwa versus Mnangagwa. Chamisa is not contesting any election because he knows that the election is run by ZANU-PF. So, if Mnangagwa can create a product in the form of Chamisa, it's so good.
Let us get callers over the phone line. I think we have Lloyd. Lloyd, what is your comment or question this evening?
Hi, ma'am. How are you there?
Good, thank you.
I'm fine, thanks. I just want to talk to... Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Lloyd.
Okay, I just want to talk to the gentleman, the other one that I don't think is your analyst or what.
My Afro expert, Diamond?
Yes. He must know that those two people, those Zimbabweans two people, now they are free to talk. The only thing that we must know is that once you are within a group of people, you abide by the rules of that group, for example, a party. Once you are out of the party, then when you start to talk the truth, people will ask you one question: why didn't you talk while you are inside? You cannot stand alone within a group whereby people are agree on things that you alone you are not agree with them. You will never pass it. So those gentlemen that are speaking there right now, if now that they are free of what they see, they have to talk about. Always, for example, when someone comes out of the party and start to speak the truth, they say, why didn't you talk when you are inside? We just open again an argument on that without not realizing the truth of those people that are saying. Mnangagwa now is saying that Zimbabwe is free and all that, let's forgive each other. Forgive each other of what? Which means when you ask forgiveness, you did something wrong. Then you must tell the people what wrong that you want to get forgiveness from. And then now what he's doing now, Mnangagwa, is the product of Robert Mugabe and all that. There's nothing new that is happening. He promised all these people from Western, and then I'm going to put, because he ran away to them, that no, he's going to do everything for Zimbabwe. They must come back and invest and all that, of which he was not agreeing with what was happening when Mugabe was inside. But because now he wants to make the whatever move that he wants to do, he wants to use the Zimbabweans. There must be changes. ZANU-PF is not there to rule. They are there just to dictate these people. Those two gentlemen that are in there, if you hear them, not with a question of us black people, we always have to ask things and argue on the point. That's why we never get together, because we always argue amongst each other. Those two gentlemen, if you hear them and when you read about Zimbabwe, you will understand them. Now that they are out wherever they are, we must not say, you were inside. Why didn't you talk when you were inside? When he was inside talking, they will say he's a spy. We don't know what we want really. When someone comes out with the truth, we start to lash out at those people that are telling us the truth and leave the ones that are not telling the truth.
All right, thank you very much, Lloyd, for that comment. We also have Kudo joining us over the phone line. Thank you so much for staying on the line. What is your comment or question this evening?
Hello.
Hi, Kudo, I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, I want to talk about the Mnangagwa.
Yes.
Mnangagwa has to repent at first. And at first, I'm sorry about those who lost their lives on the rally because of one person. As for my side, Mnangagwa is an evil man. We leave Zimbabwe because of him. I used to stay next to his plot. You know, he used to kidnap people at night, and soldiers giving the youth the uniforms to kidnap the people at night. And this other woman called Maihungwe in the assembly in Zuarasek, but that man, I know him. He's evil. He don't deserve to be a president of Zimbabwe. He don't. you have to repent. He mustn't say, let bygones be bygones, because you know what he did. People lost lives because of this man. We left Zimbabwe of this man. So as for me, he knows what he's doing. He just wants to disturb the whole world that Mugabe is after him. But he was working under Mugabe. He knows exactly what Mugabe was doing.
All right, thank you very much, Rudo, for that comment. I'm going to come over to my Afro expert. We've heard the two callers talking about that people in Zimbabwe are now free to actually tell the truth.
Can he retract what he said about me? Because you don't have to lie about someone.
Okay, let's hear Diamond. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
You don't lie about someone who is seated here.
Okay, give him a chance to respond.
Don't talk about me.
Jealousy, give him a chance to respond. Yes, Diamond?
Okay, I could probably have gone overboard and I retract those statements.
All right. Okay. You happy, Jealousy?
Yeah.
All right. We heard our two callers talking about Zimbabweans being free to be able to tell the truth. We've heard one who's a witness, Rudo, saying that she lived close to Mnangagwa and she saw him kidnap people and all of those allegations that have been made by Tinashe that we've also heard. I just want to get your view on this one.
That has always been the culture, not just of Emmerson Mnangagwa, but that has been the culture of ZANU-PF right from the beginning, because soon after elections, we saw what happened in Matabeleland with the Gukurahundi issues, where Mnangagwa is always kept on saying, let bygones be bygones. He has never come out in the open and apologized for that. He has never had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission as in accordance to the Constitution. The one which has always been there, which is there now in Zimbabwe, has got a year period of 10 years. And currently now, there's 5 years to go with regards to that. And nothing much has been done in terms of addressing the past in Zimbabwe. So people know about Emmerson Mnangagwa. They understand his capacity. They understand his capabilities as far as violence is involved. But he is not the only person who is involved. It is the whole of ZANU-PF and the cronies and the big wigs in ZANU-PF, you know. Like, to concur with my colleagues, what they were saying in terms of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, it is, of course, and indeed controlled by ZANU-PF. Zimbabwe has never had a voter's roll. And as we speak, the country is just about to go into elections. Emmerson Mnangagwa has lost twice consecutively to an opposition member on a parliamentary seat. But now he's the person who has been mandated by ZANU-PF. Surely there should be something that ZANU-PF knows that the rest of Zimbabwe does not know in terms of the country going into the elections, you know. So there is a lot that ZANU-PF has done. There are a lot of books that can be written about that in terms of violence. They've abused a lot of human rights atrocities that they've committed, and they've gotten away with it. And of course, yes, the last man standing is Emmerson Mnangagwa after the fall of Mugabe.
Now, we're also joined by a viewer, Courage, calling from Johannesburg. Thank you so much for calling in. What is your comment or question this evening?
Thank you so much, and I'd like to greet the panel with you there for the interview. You know, I'm very surprised to hear some, like all of their comments, these three gentlemen you are seated with. They are, you know, propelling lies about Zimbabwe. Why, I do not know. I will speak in my capacity as the youth admin for ZANU-PF in South Africa, and I would like to discuss, to actually dismiss all the negatives these men are, you know, talking about Comrade Mnangagwa. I do not know why they do not take legal action against the man they think has got, you know, blood in his hands and is actually sort of a criminal, as they are, you know, putting it. There is no coup d'etat that has ever happened in Zimbabwe. The honorable president, former President Robert Mugabe, resigned because the ZANU-PF Politburo had asked him to resign, and he knew very well that if he had stuck to his guns and not resigned, he was going to be removed by a vote of no confidence. So it is the will of the people of Zimbabwe through, you know, ZANU-PF leadership that led to the change of government. Now, the blast that we saw last week in Bulawayo, you know, came as a surprise to everyone. As we are speaking now, investigations are underway to find exactly who did that. And if you can ask those three gentlemen, they'll tell you, Zimbabwe being the country it is, with these, its very powerful security apparatus, those people involved are going to be apprehended and are going to be put, to book. To say Comrade Mnangagwa is behind and is the one who actually did it, he's just, doing, unnecessary, raising of the red flag. It's not true. Zimbabwe is ready for, proper transformation and is ready to lure investors to come and, work within the country. And now, if we have such comments from misinformed people, it's very unfortunate. But we're not going to stop and just fold our hands and let them talk nonsense. We are going to stand and fight for the truth. That's why we are in the diaspora defending ZANU-PF. We are not going to stop. We are not going to stop at anything at all. They may continue, whoever is bankrolling them is doing a very good job. They may continue talking like that, but it's not going to work. Actually, just watch this space. We are going to the elections come next month, the 30th. We are going to win. A landslide victory that has never been seen before. Mark my words. When the results come, you should call me back.
All right, thank you so much,
Courage.
Courage.
That has never been seen before because the people of Zimbabwe actually want the ZANU-PF and no one is going to force it.
All right, thank you very much, Courage, for calling in. We do have Onward calling from Centurion. Thank you so much for joining us. What is your comment or question this evening?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I just want to highlight one of your things, and one thing I found that the panel is not quite balanced. It's mostly members of the opposition there, and they are basically peddling lies about the president, and in particular, the gentleman who indicated that the president is not a citizen of the country, the deputy president is a citizen of the country, and also that she is a member of Mugabe family. Those are just mere allegations, and we do not expect anybody to peddle such untested allegations. What the president has been doing is that he has been reforming Zimbabwe. To begin with, is the issue of, for the first time, to see opposition demonstrations being allowed in Zimbabwe, undisturbed, unhindered. The first time where we have seen opposition being able to air their manifesto being broadcasted on the national television. And for the first time, we have seen quite a number of freedom when people could easily express themselves. The president has become very accessible to everybody, even on social media. He accepts criticism. And obviously, the opposition and the people who are handling your guest, if I may say that, they are beginning to feel the pressure. They are beginning to feel the heat. And they can measure how Mr. Mnangagwa, the president, is being accepted by the Zimbabweans. And in particular, in Matabeleland, they could not think that Mr. Mnangagwa was able to fill a stadium in Bulawayo. So this was an act, because of the Gukura Hundu allegations, it was an act to pit the president with the people in Matabeleland. Hence, the choice of the venue to attempt to assassinate the president was done in Matabeleland. And this is not an allegation. It is there. Mr. Mnangagwa has been admitted here in South Africa in terms of the poison. We have seen the explosion. How can somebody fake such an occurrence? And people have died. And we are trying to make a joke, or we want to make a political issue to say the president is trying to do this to himself.
All right, thank you so much, Onward, for that comment. I just want to add on there, Onward, that we did have Kennedy Mandaza, the spokesperson for the ZANU-PF party, over the phone line. It's just that we are struggling to get him back because he is currently in Zimbabwe at this point. Tinashe, I'm going to come over to you. People have been saying that you don't have much evidence with the facts that you have been calling out, the allegations that you have been calling out against Mnangagwa.
Okay. The issue of if Mnangagwa has killed 30,000 people, why would people defend that maybe he couldn't kill maybe 1 or 2 people? It's on record. Mnangagwa can open a police case, and then I can face him in court and prove to him that he's a killer. If he can sleep with if you can cheat his advisor, Chris Mutsangwa, Mnangagwa can have a child with his advisor, his wife. That Monica Mtsangwa is now in a 5-star hotel Mnangagwa is bankrolling his girlfriend, who is the wife of his advisor. If you can rig the bedroom of your advisor, what kind of a monster and a bastard Mnangagwa is? And then besides that, I would like to warn S. Lumumba to say, you being a young person Zimbabwean who has happened to have access to steal our money. S. Lumumba, I'm warning you that you should behave and eat that money you stole for now. The issue of grandstanding is like you are the pop star of Zimbabwe. We're gonna clip your wings very soon. I want to warn Emerson Mnangagwa and say, Mnangagwa, I give you 6 months to resign, and you and this bleaching moron General Chiwenga, you should resign in the next 6 months peacefully. Otherwise, I would face you in the sea, in the mountains, in a way that you will regret.
Let me bring in jealousy quickly into this conversation. We know that the presidential candidates and the political parties have signed a pledge to have a peaceful campaign ahead of the elections. I just wanted to find out if you are happy with the agreement that has been drafted by the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission.
You see, the problem in Zimbabwe has never been about documents, about pieces of legislation, but it has been about enforcement of laws. It has been about peacekeeping. It has been about how the law is applied across the board. So you can have as many documents, you can have as many pledges as you like, but as long as we have more than 5,000 soldiers deployed in every one of the 1,958 wards, you have a recipe for disaster, because soldiers are not law enforcers. They are trained to kill. They are trained to use force. So as long as you have an illegitimate government, there is no way you can guarantee peace when the coup announcer is the Minister of Foreign Affairs, when the person who planned the coup is your deputy president, when the person who is your president is the one who was using your vice president and your foreign affairs minister to stage the coup. So the tragedy that we have in Zimbabwe is that the international community, especially the British, especially South Africa, during the days of Zuma, they stood and helped the illegal takeover of power, the violent takeover of power. There are people, mind you, who died during the coup last year. Peter Mnetsi is one of them. He died during the coup. There are quite a lot of women who were raped during the coup. There are a lot of people, especially those who were working for the Central Intelligence Organization, about 75 officers who were bashed by the coup stagers. So you don't expect to have free and fair elections run by an illegitimate government that is coming on the back of a coup. Mnangagwa is a coup master. Chiwenga, his vice, is a coup master. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, who happens to invite observers, is the one who announced the coup on national television. So if you have those guys, you shouldn't be surprised if things like false flagging, if like the explosion that we saw in Bulawayo happens, because that's how those guys do. Mnangagwa himself has always taken every opportunity to say that he's a soldier. He's trained to kill. He has said that. He said, I'm a soldier, I'm a military man, I know if I'm told to turn right, I turn right. He has never shied away from telling the whole world that he's a military man. And what we are seeing in Zimbabwe is a result of the unconstitutional takeover of government that happened on the 15th of November last year. And you don't expect soldiers to run a free and fair election or to give you peace.
Let me bring in...
Because these are trained human machines, trained to
Let me
kill.
bring in our Afro expert over here. What do you make of the peace pledge that has come together, and it was drafted by the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission?
The civil society in Zimbabwe has always been there doing better things and advocating for democracy, governance and human rights. And also they've been advocating for peace. So we celebrate, I celebrate, and I thank the civil society for never lying low, for keeping on raising the peace flag up. Had this been an issue for the government would have been the first one to come and pledge for that peace issue. But it has not been coming from the government, because we understood from what has been happening with the violent nature of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF would never come and have that in Zimbabwe. So I celebrate and I applaud the civil society for keeping on the issue of peace in Zimbabwe, because had they not done it, no one else would have done it. The issue of enforcement in Zimbabwe has always been an issue. I can concur with my learned colleague that documents have been written, but the enforcement issue, the way things have been enforced is in a way and manner which is just there to benefit ZANU-PF, which is just there to benefit those who are in power. And the people who suffer are the citizens of the country.
Let me bring in Tinashe into this conversation. Yes. What do you make of the comments coming from the gentleman about the peace deal?
Yeah, no, the peace deal is, I think to me, it's obvious because the opposition parties in Zimbabwe, they are created by Mnangagwa. We don't have an opposition in Zimbabwe because you can't have parties which contest in an election that is run by the army. Let's be serious. So if Mnangagwa and his stooges, they sign a deal, then it's fine. They're in their house. Zimbabweans should rise and fight for their freedom. This election is not working. That's why I'm warning, Nelson Chamisa to say, don't fool my people. Don't fool my people. Struggle with your gender issues. You rather close yourself in a room and solve your gender issues. Don't mix your gender, confusion to politics. Because this election is a ZANU-PF Congress, and that's why I've declared myself the civilian president against Mnangagwa, who is controlled by Chiwenga, her husband. So I am saying, Nelson Chamisa, don't continue with this election. Solve your gender problem, know your sexuality, and then the politics, leave it to politicians.
Right. I think it's unfair. I think it's unfair to say. I think it's unfair to say. In 2 seconds. Yes, I think it's unfair to say that every political party in Zimbabwe has been created by ZANU-PF, and the fact that people are contesting in elections doesn't mean that the process is free and fair. But you can't have just one strategy of tackling the junta in Zimbabwe. You can participate in elections and mobilize a lot of people. Any election that has a turnout of above 75% is very difficult to rig. That's why some of us are contesting in this election, and we want to make it very difficult for the junta to rig this election by mobilizing as many people as is possible to participate in the election.
Thank you, Jealousy. Thank you so much. Thank you to my guests, Tinashe Jonas, Ideal Zimbabwe. We also had Jealousy Mawarire, an PF spokesperson. We have Tapiwa Diamond, Afro expert. We also had over the phone line Kennedy Mandaza, ZANU-PF SA spokesperson, even though we struggled to get him back on the line. And they were just unpacking as Zimbabwe presidential candidates and political parties sign a pledge to have a peaceful campaign ahead of elections. And this comes after violence at several of Zimbabwe's election campaigns. There are 23 candidates vying for the position of president in the July 30 elections. Right now, Africa Tonight will take a short break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay tuned.